My beloved brothers and sisters, have you ever paused just for a moment and asked yourself, why am I going through this? What is Allah trying to teach me? Today, we're going to uncover something that might just change your entire perspective on life. This message is not just for the ears, it's for the heart. Because this topic, the role of women in spreading Islam, holds the key to finding peace, purpose, and Allah's closeness. So don't scroll away. Stay with me till the end. You never know, this could be the moment Allah has chosen to guide your heart. When we look at the beginning of Islam, when the message was fresh and new, and the world was still unsure about who Muhammad truly was, there was one woman who stood firmly by his side. Khadijah bint Khuwaylid, a woman of immense wisdom and dignity, was not just a wife, she was the first believer in Islam. That is no small thing. Allah chose a woman to be the very first to say, I believe. That alone should make the world pause and reflect at a time when the Prophet had just returned from the cave of Hira, overwhelmed and shaken by what he had witnessed. The first revelation from Jibreel. It was not a man, not a tribe, not a group of scholars who reassured him. It was his wife. She embraced him and said words that every believer should memorize and live by. Allah will never forsake you. You maintain ties of kinship. You carry the burdens of others. You speak the truth. These were not just words of comfort. They were an affirmation of who he was and what he would become. And that support, that certainty came from a woman. So if anyone ever tells you that a woman has no role in Islam beyond the home, remind them of Khadijah. Remind them that without her, the early message of Islam might not have found such stability and safety. She gave not only her love, but her wealth, her status, and her very soul to ensure the message was protected. She didn't just support Islam, she helped establish it. There's something incredibly powerful about knowledge. And in Islam, it isn't something reserved for men. The Prophet said, seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim, and that includes women. A shining example of this is Ayah, one of the greatest scholars of this Ummah. After the Prophet passed away, companions, great men, senior Sahaba would come to her to learn. Her understanding of the Quran, of the Sunnah, of fiqh was unparalleled. She narrated over 2,000 hadiths and corrected misunderstandings in religious matters. She was a teacher, a jurist, and a source of wisdom. And she wasn't doing this on a stage or through a public address system. She taught from her home, through her words, her letters, her influence. This shows us something remarkable, that women can be powerhouses of knowledge and guidance, even from within the walls of their homes. In our world today, a woman with Islamic knowledge has countless avenues. She can teach online, share authentic reminders, help others understand the beauty of the deen, all without stepping outside her values or her modesty. And when she shares knowledge sincerely for the sake of Allah, every heart she touches becomes a witness for her on the day of judgment. Every child she raises upon the Quran and Sunnah is a sadaqah jariyah for her. Every girl she inspires to cover, every friend she reminds to pray, every person she encourages to repent, it all counts. So never doubt the power of a woman who learns Islam and lives it with sincerity. Sometimes we underestimate the value of good character, but the truth is, you don't always need a microphone to do dawah. You don't always need to speak to be heard. Sometimes it's the way you treat others, the way you handle hardship, the way you respond with patience. That's what truly spreads Islam. Imagine a sister who is going through a hard time. Maybe she's struggling with her health. Maybe she's been wronged. Maybe she's facing difficulty in her home. But despite it all, she remains kind, forgiving, and patient. That is dawah. When people look at her and say, Subhanallah, how does she stay so calm? How does she still smile? How does she still pray? They're not just admiring her, they're admiring the strength of her faith. And faith is contagious. The Prophet said, the best among you are those who have the best character. Good character invites others to Islam more than arguments ever could. You could debate someone for hours about theology and not convince them. But one act of honesty, one gesture of compassion, one moment of integrity can melt even the hardest heart. Sisters, never belittle the dawah of your action. When you're kind to your in-laws, when you forgive your husband's shortcomings, when you raise your children with gentleness, when you serve with sincerity, these are acts that Allah loves and that the world learns from. In this era, the concept of modesty is often misunderstood. Some see it as backward, others see it as oppressive. But the truth is, in Islam, modesty is power, it is dignity, it is identity. When a Muslim woman walks down the street wearing her hijab, covering herself, not because of culture or fashion, but because she obeys Allah, that is a statement. It says, I belong to no one but Allah. It says, I don't dress for men, I don't act for society. I am a servant of the Most High. And that alone is a form of dawah. The hijab is not just cloth, it's a flag of faith. And modesty isn't just in dress, it's in speech, in behavior, in the way you carry yourself. A woman who speaks with respect, who walks with humility, who avoids places of sin, she is preaching without even realizing it. Her strength lies in her submission to Allah, not in the validation of people. And in a world that pushes women to expose, she becomes a beacon of guidance. Sisters, don't let anyone shame you for your modesty. Wear it proudly, speak with wisdom, carry yourself with honor. Because every time someone sees you and remembers Allah, you've done dawah. One of the greatest tools Allah has given us today is access to knowledge, access to platforms, access to people's hearts across the world. Now more than ever, the average person can influence others with just a single message, a single post, a single moment of sincerity. And my dear sisters, if Allah has granted you a platform, no matter how small, then that is an amana, a trust. In the early days of Islam, the message had to be spread through travel, personal interaction, and memorization. People crossed deserts to convey one hadith. But today we can send that same hadith to thousands with the click of a button. The responsibility is huge and the reward even greater. Think about it. If you remind someone to pray and they pray as a result, you earn a share of their reward every single time they pray. If you help someone wear the hijab and they live in it sincerely, you share in the reward. If your words inspire someone to change their life for Allah and they stick to it, your account on the day of judgment will reflect it. That's the mercy of Allah. This is the same system of reward that the companions lived for. They wanted nothing more than to be a reason someone turns back to Allah. And you, my sister, can do the same from the comfort of your own home. But it must be done with the right heart. Because while today's tools can be powerful means of dawah, they can also be used for harm. They can spread arrogance, jealousy, vanity, and even misguidance if one is not careful. So the first condition is sincerity. Don't post for likes. Don't speak to be praised. Don't share a Quranic verse just for aesthetics or a trending sound. Do it with the niyyah that someone might hear it and be reminded of Allah. That even if one person, just one, is guided, it would be better for you than the entire world and everything in it, just like the Prophet Allah told us, and Allah knows your heart. You don't need followers to be accepted. You need taqwa. Even if you have no audience but your own family, your dawah is valid. Even if your only listeners are your children, your impact is real. Let's be honest, in today's world, women face tremendous pressure. There are expectations from society, culture, and even within communities to appear a certain way, speak a certain way, and live a certain way. But when a woman chooses to live for Allah, she breaks those chains. She frees herself from societal definitions and embraces her divine identity. That is a statement. That is dawah. Because people are watching even when you don't realize it. They watch how you respond to hate, how you deal with sadness, how you keep your faith in storms. And in those moments, you teach others that Islam is not just about rituals, it's a way of life. When you show mercy, they see Islam. When you forgive, they see Islam. When you walk away from gossip or delete a post that might cause harm, or stay silent when you could have insulted, they see Islam. Our sisters are raising the next generation of Muslims. They are the first schools, the first examples, the first voices a child hears. That's why it is said that mothers are the heart of the Ummah. A woman's role is not restricted to cooking or cleaning or any cultural box. Her influence is far deeper. She is molding hearts. She is shaping minds. She is instilling values. So even if you are not on a stage, even if you are not teaching in a masjid, don't think for a moment that your role is small. If your child grows up loving Allah, respecting the Prophet Allah's, and fearing the hereafter, your dawah is already alive. And the reward continues even after you leave this world. Let us also not forget the women who serve behind the scenes, organizing charity drives, helping the poor, supporting masjid activities, nursing the sick, volunteering in their community. These actions may seem simple, but Allah sees them, and through them, Islam spreads not just through words, but through love, care, and service. A warm meal, a comforting visit, a ride to the masjid, these can soften hearts more than 100 speeches. You may not have a title, you may not be recognized, but the angels know your name, and your place in the sight of Allah is not determined by followers or fame. It's determined by sincerity and sacrifice. So my dear sister, use whatever Allah has given you. Your phone, your words, your hands, your time. Use it to plant seeds of faith. Share reminders, start small circles of learning, support other sisters trying to grow, lift someone who has fallen, defend the deen with kindness, and never forget, when you work for the sake of Allah, you're not alone. You're walking the path of the prophets, the companions, and the righteous women who came before you. Sometimes we forget that the loudest form of dawah is not through public lectures or big events, it's through character. The Prophet Muhammad himself was described in the Quran as having an exalted standard of character. Surah Al-Qalam 68:4. And when we reflect on how Islam reached the hearts of people throughout the centuries, we find that it was not always because of debate or miracles. It was through honesty, through patience, through kindness. And often it was the women who embodied these qualities with such sincerity and beauty that their presence became a form of guidance. There's a reason the Prophet said, the best of you are those who are best to their families, and I am the best among you to my family. He was teaching us that dawah starts in the home. And it starts with the heart. Imagine a woman who wakes up for Fajr despite being tired from taking care of her children. She may not have the energy to post online or give lectures, but her sincerity echoes in the heavens. She feeds her family, teaches her children manners, keeps the home clean, and bears difficulty with a smile. These aren't small acts. These are acts that ripple through generations. If her children grow up praying, loving the Quran, and fearing Allah, it all began with her silent, consistent efforts. This is dawah without words. This is the kind of dawah that reaches deep into the soul. Let's consider another example. A sister is working in an office where most people don't understand Islam. She wears her hijab with pride. She avoids gossip. She works with excellence, and she always responds with grace, even when misunderstood. One day, a colleague approaches her and says, "There's something peaceful about you. Why are you always so calm?" And she replies, "Because I trust Allah." That moment, that sentence becomes a turning point. That colleague may not accept Islam immediately, but something in their heart shifts, and it all began with her character. She didn't preach with words, she preached with presence. The Prophet ﷺ once said, "Indeed, the most beloved of you to me and the closest to me on the day of judgment will be those who have the best manners." Subhanallah. Not the most famous, not the most eloquent, not even the most knowledgeable, but the best in manner. This is a huge encouragement, especially for our sisters, because it shows that your dawah doesn't need to be loud to be effective. It just needs to be sincere. Now think about patience. When a woman is tested in her health, in her marriage, in her family, in her finances, yet she turns to Allah, prays through her tears, and says, "Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil." That is dawah. That shows others the power of, that shows others that Islam is not just for good times. It's a source of strength in hardship. How many people have returned to Allah after witnessing someone go through trials with faith? And how many of those strong souls have been women. Even the Prophet ﷺ was reminded of the importance of patience and character. Allah told him in the Quran, and had you been harsh or hard-hearted, they would have fled from around you. If the Messenger of Allah ﷺ was commanded to win hearts with gentleness, what about us? What about our sisters who are raising children, dealing with difficult in-laws, working to support their families, and still managing to smile, to give, to forgive? These are the warriors of our time. They are silent, but their influence is loud in the eyes of Allah. And let's not forget about forgiveness. A sister who forgives someone who hurt her, not because they deserve it, but because she wants Allah's mercy, that is a level of faith that spreads light. It teaches others that Islam is not just about rights, but about mercy, that we don't hold on to pain. We rise above it for the sake of Allah. This kind of character heals communities. It mends broken hearts. It softens the hardest souls. And that's the true essence of dawah. Our sisters must know that every act done with the right intention counts. You don't have to go viral to be seen by Allah. You don't have to be loud to be effective. Sometimes your sabr, your silence, your consistent effort, day in and day out, is what changes lives. Maybe not immediately, maybe not visibly, but certainly in the unseen world where angels are writing and Allah is watching. So my dear sisters, never underestimate your value. When you smile in the face of hardship, you are spreading Islam. When you stay patient when others would break down, you are spreading Islam. When you carry yourself with dignity and humility, even when the world mocks your faith, you are spreading Islam. And when you choose to live for Allah in a time when everything pushes you to live for this dunya, you are a sign for the Ummah. You are proof that Islam is not just alive, it is thriving through the hearts of its women. My beloved sisters, in today's world where appearances are glorified and values are fading, there's one virtue that stands as a powerful shield: modesty. And when we speak of women spreading Islam, we cannot overlook the immense power hidden in a woman's modesty. In fact, it's not just an outer garment or a dress code, it's a reflection of the soul, a badge of faith, and a form of dawah without uttering a single word. In a society where everyone is trying to be seen, a Muslim woman says, I want to be seen by Allah, not by people. That's strength, that's dignity, that's Islam. You see, modesty is not a prison, it's protection. Allah did not command hijab to oppress women. He gave it as an honor. When a woman wears the hijab, when she covers herself with decency and walks with humility, she is reminding the world that she is not a product, not an object, not a decoration for the eyes of strangers. She is a servant of the most merciful. Her value is in her taqwa, not her appearance. She is not trying to fit into a worldly mold. She is choosing to stand out with her faith, and in doing so, she is silently preaching the message of Islam. The Prophet ﷺ described modesty as a branch of faith. It's not just about clothing, it's about how you speak, how you walk, how you interact. It's about guarding your heart and keeping your intentions pure. And who better to exemplify this than Maryam as Allah praised her in the Quran with powerful words. And Maryam, the daughter of Imran, who guarded her chastity, salah, her purity, her dignity, her quiet worship. These made her one of the most honored women in all of humanity. So if anyone ever tells you that modesty is weakness, remind them that Allah praises it as strength. A Muslim woman doesn't need to scream to be heard. Her silence in the face of vulgarity is louder than any protest. Her lowered gaze, her measured speech, her grace, these are all signs of her connection to Allah. And this is what makes her dawah so unique. She walks into a room and without saying a word, people are reminded of Islam. They see the hijab and they remember Allah. They see her dignity and they remember what it means to be noble. They see her commitment and they reflect on their own. That's dawah in its purest form. Unfortunately, we live in a time where modesty is mocked, where covering yourself is seen as backward, where speaking softly is considered weakness. But the true believer doesn't seek validation from the world. She seeks it from Allah. And when she chooses modesty in a world of shamelessness, she becomes a soldier of faith. She becomes a walking ayah, a living reminder of the values that Islam upholds. She doesn't just follow fashion trends, she follows the footsteps of the righteous. My dear sisters, Don't let society convince you that modesty is a burden. It's a gift. It's your spiritual armor. It guards your heart, your mind, and your soul. And when you wear it for the sake of Allah, every step you take becomes a form of worship. Every glance you lower becomes a reward. Every inappropriate word you choose not to say is written as an act of piety. And all of this, even though the world may not understand it, is noticed by Allah. Remember, when you hold on to modesty, especially when it's difficult, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're paving the way for the next generation. Little girls are watching you. Sisters are drawing strength from you. Even strangers are being affected by your consistency. And most importantly, angels are writing your efforts, and Allah is preparing your reward. The Prophet Sallallahu, whoever gives up something for the sake of Allah, Allah will replace it with something better. So if you've ever struggled with modesty or been made to feel ashamed of it, know that your reward with Allah is far greater than anything this world could ever offer. You are not behind, you are not less, you are not silenced. You are a representative of Islam, and your hijab, your haya, your modest words, they all speak volumes. They say, I have chosen Allah over fashion. They say, I love the Prophet Sallallahu. They say, I know my worth because Allah has honored me. And sisters, if you stumbled before, if you haven't always dressed modestly or spoken appropriately or acted within the bounds of Islam, don't give up. Every day is a chance to return. Every step closer to Allah is a victory, and no one has the right to judge your journey. What matters is your sincerity. If you're walking toward Allah, He will run toward you. My beloved sisters, we are living in an age of unprecedented opportunity. The entire world has become connected through technology, and our voices can travel across continents in a matter of seconds. But with this great opportunity comes great responsibility. The tools we have today, phones, apps, social media platforms, podcasts, online video channels, these can be used to spread misguidance, or they can be used to bring people closer to Allah. And this is where the role of our sisters becomes absolutely critical. It was the heart that beats with Iman, when it uses its voice for Allah, can shake the hearts of thousands, even millions. You don't need to have 1 million followers to make a difference. You just need sincerity. When you post an ayah from the Quran, when you share a short reminder about prayer, when you show what it means to live with modesty and purpose, you are doing dawah, you are spreading Islam, and you may not even realize how many people are being impacted by that one post, that one reminder, that one story. Maybe a sister was feeling like giving up, and she saw your words and turned back to Allah. Maybe someone was confused about hijab, and your journey helped them take that step. Maybe a non-Muslim came across your message and began asking questions about Islam. You see, Allah is using you as a means of guidance for others, and that, my dear sister, is one of the greatest honors in the sight of Allah. The Prophet Muhammad Allah said, if Allah thus guides one person through you, it is better for you than red camels. Red camels were the most valuable possessions in the Arabian Peninsula. So imagine what this means today. It means if you are the reason someone starts praying again, someone repents, someone learns about Allah, then your reward is greater than anything the world can give. That's the value of dawah, and Allah multiplies your reward every single time they continue on that path of guidance. It becomes a sadaqah jariyah, an ongoing charity written in your book of deeds, long after you've forgotten the post or deleted the video. But here's the key, your dawah must be rooted in sincerity and knowledge. Don't do it for lighty. Don't fall into the trap of chasing fame in the name of religion. That's dangerous path. The reward of dawah comes when it's done solely for Allah, seeking His pleasure, not public applause. And knowledge matters. Make sure what you share is authentic. Don't spread unverified hadiths or opinions without proper sources. Remember, when we speak in the name of Islam, we're representing the deen of Allah. That's a responsibility. So we must speak with humility, with truth, and with the awareness that every word is being recorded. And don't think your platform is too small. Maybe you only have a few followers. Maybe your circle is limited to your family, your neighbors, your school or workplace. That's still a platform. The Prophet Salih started with a small circle too. He called his family, his friends,
and his neighbors to Islam, and look how the message spread through sincerity, one heart at a time. So don't underestimate the power of your effort. That group chat where you share a dua, that voice note you sent to comfort a friend, that WhatsApp status where you remind people of Jumu'ah, those are all forms of dawah, and Allah counts them. Let's also be clear, not all dawah is public. Some of the most powerful dawah is private. When you help someone behind the scenes, when you counsel a struggling sister, when you pray for someone who's lost their way, Allah sees it all. You don't have to one stage to be in the sight of the Most High. And some of the dawah that has the deepest impact is the one done in secret, with sincerity, seeking nothing but the face of Allah. It's also important to use wisdom in dawah. The Quran teaches us, invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction. That means your tone matters, your approach matters. Don't shame people, don't speak down to them. If someone isn't wearing hijab, or is struggling with their prayer, or is stuck in sin, don't attack them. Reach out with kindness, speak gently. Be the reason they feel hopeful, not the reason they feel pushed away. The Prophet Salat al strays one hearts with mercy, not harshness. And lastly, my dear sisters, don't be afraid to shine your light for the sake of Allah. In a world that celebrates every type of influencer, we need more women who influence others toward Jannah, women who speak the truth, share the beauty of Islam, and inspire others to be better, not with judgment, but with love. The Ummah needs you. Our daughters need role models. Our sisters need encouragement. Our communities need the feminine voice of faith, strong, gentle, and rooted in the Quran and Sunnah. So use your phone, use your pen, use your voice, use your character, use whatever Allah has given you, big or small, and spread Islam in your own unique way. Because when done with sincerity, even a whisper can echo across hearts and lead people to paradise. My beloved sisters in Islam, let's take a moment to reflect on something profound. One of the most beautiful and powerful ways a woman spreads Islam is not through words, or posts, or speeches, but through her character, her modesty, and her mannerisms. This is a form of dawah that needs no microphone, no audience, and no followers. It is silent, yet incredibly loud. It is humble, yet transformational. It is the living embodiment of the values Islam teaches. And believe me, this type of dawah can penetrate even the hardest of hearts. You see, when a Muslim woman walks into a room with her hijab on, her modesty intact, her dignity shining through her actions, she is representing something far greater than herself. She is representing the deen of Allah, and people notice. They may not say anything, but they observe. They watch how she speaks, how she carries herself, how she reacts under pressure, how she treats those around her. And if what they see aligns with the values Islam teaches, kindness, patience, truthfulness, and humility, they will associate those qualities with the faith. This is why the Prophet Muhammad Salat emphasized good character so heavily. He said, the best among you are those who have the best character. Subhanallah. And a woman who lives by the teachings of Islam without uttering a word is sometimes doing more dawah than 1,000 speeches. She's a walking proof of the beauty of this religion. She doesn't need to debate, argue, or prove her point. Her life speaks louder than any argument. And this is exactly how many women throughout Islamic history changed lives by simply living as righteous Muslim women with sabr, with haya, with love for Allah. Let's take the example of the mothers, wives, and daughters of the Prophet Salat. How did Khadijah Allah spread Islam? She wasn't on the battlefield, she wasn't giving public lectures, but she was the rock of the Prophet Salat. When the revelation came, she comforted him, supported him, and used her wealth and wisdom to build the foundations of Islam. Her character left such a deep impact that even years after her death, the Prophet Salat would become emotional just by mentioning her name. That's the influence of a righteous woman. Take Ajah Azay, a scholar, a narrator of hadith, a teacher to the Ummah. But it wasn't just her knowledge that made her great. It was her honesty, her sharp mind, her faith, and her willingness to ask, clarify, and share. She shaped generations of scholars, not by fighting for a platform, but by being sincere to the truth. And then there's Fatima al-Zahra, the daughter of the Prophet, Salat Allah, so modest, so close to her father, that he called her the leader of the women of paradise. Her strength, her simplicity, and her steadfastness were her dawah.
My dear sisters, you don't have to fit into any mold that society tries to place on you. Your value in the eyes of Allah is not based on your looks or your likes or your popularity. It's based on your taqwa, your consciousness of Allah. So even when no one sees, even when no one praises you, even when your efforts feel hidden and quiet, know that Allah sees it all, and He will reward you for every moment you chose dignity over attention, humility over pride, sincerity over recognition. This world will try to define you based on its own standards, but Allah has already honored you in His Quran. He says, indeed, the Muslim men and Muslim women, the believing men and believing women, Allah has prepared for them forgiveness and a great reward. Surah Al-Ahzab. See how Allah paired both men and women together in righteousness and reward. That means your effort in spreading Islam is just as valuable, just as honored, just as beloved to Allah. And in today's world, where modesty is often mocked, where faith is questioned, and where values are being flipped upside down, it is even more important for our sisters to hold firmly to their identity. You are not just wearing a piece of cloth. You are wearing a symbol of submission to Allah. You are showing the world, I am a servant of the Most Merciful. I don't follow trends. I follow the Quran. That's a message. That's dawah, and it's powerful. So whether you're raising righteous children, being a kind wife, a supportive sister, a committed student, a nurse, a teacher, a businesswoman, or a simple homemaker, remember, you can spread Islam through your example. Be honest in your dealings. Be gentle in your word. Be calm in your reactions. Be grateful in your tests. Be strong in your identity. And above all, be sincere in your connection with Allah. You don't need to announce your intentions to the world. Just keep doing the right thing consistently, even if no one applauds you. That's where the reward lies. And don't let anyone make you feel like your role is small. In the eyes of Allah, even a single act done for His sake can outweigh mountains. So my beloved sisters, walk tall, not with arrogance, but with confidence in who you are. You are a woman of Islam, a woman of purpose, a woman who has been chosen by Allah to carry His light in this dark world. Let that light shine, not through flashy words, but through sincere, righteous action. Because when you live for Allah, even your silence becomes dawah, and that, my sister, is true power.